So you're just starting your journey in Starfield and you're wondering which faction you should join or which faction you should not join. Well, in this video, I'm going to be ranking every single faction in Starfield, starting with all the major factions and then going on into the minor factions. And I'm going to be telling you which ones you should absolutely join at the start of your journey and which ones you should probably avoid. So this is going from S+, must join, you should join them immediately, to really, I don't think you should join these factions. So this is a fully timestamped and chaptered video. Go to whichever part of the video appeals to you or the faction you're considering joining. So let's get right into the content. So the first thing we're going to be looking at is Constellation. What do I think about Constellation? Constellation, guys, it is basically the most important faction in the game. It is pretty much S+ tier. I know this is going to be kind of a cop-out, but it really isn't. Constellation is actually a really well-designed faction. All the missions I've done for them have been really good. A big thing about Constellation that I would recommend doing some of the main missions pretty early on in the story is you get a lot of experience for this, right? So this is like the Skyrim main quest. I would recommend somebody do exactly the same thing in Starfield as they do in Skyrim. We'll run through, let's say, like half of the main quest, get some XP, right? And then go do your side quest, and then come back to Constellation and finish up as you have explored the world. So I would definitely jump in, do a few missions for Constellation. A lot of the characters, like Sarah Morgan, very, very cool character. Samco. There's a lot of cool characters that you're going to meet in Constellation that I think really well written, and I've been having a great time. So I do think Constellation is a pretty good faction. You're meeting them basically right at the beginning of the game, very first mission in New Atlantis. In terms of their political affiliations, they're probably closer with the United Corporations, but they're kind of an independent, I don't know what you want to say, like humanitarian organization, I guess is the way to say it. So they're a pretty interesting corporation. I think the characters are really, really cool. You have a diverse cast. I mean, Matteo, there's a lot of cool characters that you're going to meet. I don't want to go into spoilers, and I want to make that clear. This will not be spoiling parts of the game. So I really want to keep spoilers to a minimum. But I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of the flavor text and what I think about the corporation. Really, you need to go here. I mean, things like your jetpack you get only by going here at the start of the game. You should really, really consider Constellation for at least 3 to 5 missions. That's what I would recommend. Do 3 to 5 missions, then go out into the universe. Get in some space battles, explore, go to other factions, and then come back later on in the game. So that's basically what I think about Constellation. Really well-designed faction. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Crimson Fleet, guys. The Crimson Fleet. What do I think about the Crimson Fleet? Crimson Fleet is pretty good. I would say Crimson Fleet I would put right here below Constellation. There is some things that Crimson Fleet is not as well written. It's the kind of prototypical cutthroat organization. I think Delgado, basically the head of the organization, I really don't know how he would be running an intergalactic empire of pirates. So that was not very believable to me. The locations you go to for the Crimson Fleet are really, really good. And how you actually get into the Crimson Fleet, I don't want to spoil that too much for you. But basically, it involves a plot with the United Corporations. So the United Corporations are not only really going against the FREESTAR Collective, but they're also going against the Crimson Fleet. So they're fighting a war basically on two sides, kind of a proxy war with the Crimson Fleet. But honestly, this faction pays you a lot, dude. This faction pays you a lot. I would go to the Crimson Fleet, even if you don't like the Crimson Fleet. You can kind of work undercover. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, but you can work undercover. You can kind of work for the Crimson Fleet even as a moral good guy. So the game allows you to basically either be really evil and work for the Crimson Fleet and rake in the credits, or they allow you to basically be the good guy, work for the Crimson Fleet, but, undercover. So I do think the Crimson Fleet is pretty well designed. It's not the best faction in the game, but it's solid, guys. It's solid, and I think that pretty good or A rank, that's where it deserves to be. Let's move on to the Ecliptic Mercenaries. Now, I hesitated putting this in. We're going to be talking about some of minor factions at the end of the video, and I'm going to be mentioning them. A lot of the minor factions are either mercenary groups or the religious groups. So these two, it's kind of hard to know where to place them. Ecliptic Mercenaries, you're going to basically be able to do jobs for them, but it was not really like a full joinable faction, if that makes sense. It's not quite like these others on the list, and they're kind of in between a major faction and a minor faction. So that's why I'm putting them here. Ecliptic Mercenaries, I would kind of put as really, they're kind of bad guys. They're kind of the default bad guys. Everybody that's a pirate that isn't the Crimson Fleet is kind of one-dimensional. And, I understand Bethesda only has a limited amount of time, but really, I think they didn't do that great of a job with this. This like faction probably shouldn't even be in the game. It would make more sense that the Crimson Fleet just is kind of, assimilated most of the pirates under its banner. So these minor corporations, not that good. And Ecliptic Mercenaries, I wouldn't do most of the jobs. This is kind of like MMO fetch quest. You get some money for doing it. Not great, guys. Not great. FREESTAR Collectives. So FREESTAR Collective is kind of like, do you like space cowboys? If you really like Westworld, or if you like that kind of genre of like, let's do westerns in space, you're going to really like the FREESTAR Collective. Now, what do I think? I'm not huge in the space cowboy theme, but I will say this: if you love Fallout New Vegas, this is the faction that's really going to kind of touch your heart. It's gonna touch you in the feels. FREESTAR Collective, the mayors, like most of the people, when you're working as a ranger for the FREESTAR Collective, some of the quests are really good. So I would recommend doing it just for the quest. But the rewards are kind of crappy. I don't think the rewards are good at all compared to major factions. And they kind of tell you that right away. They're like, if you want to be rich, don't work as a ranger. I think the lady tells you about this literally before you join the Rangers. So honestly, for what you get out of the faction, it's not that great, but the story is great. So it's somewhere in the middle, guys. I would probably put FREESTAR Collective probably average. It's not great, but it's not terrible. But I do like some of the stories. I really like Aquila City. I think is one of the coolest cities. You definitely get that like outpost on the outer rim. So there's a little bit of Star Wars theme going on here. And I think it's pretty fun. The faction's pretty fun. But just the rewards really hold it back from being in like the top S+ tier. Can't really put it up there. So, your mileage may vary here. It depends on how much you're worried about the story versus how much you're worried about actual rewards and getting something out of the faction. Xenofresh Corporation. I'm going to put Xenofresh right up here in pretty good. The reason I think Xenofresh is good is because of the Aurora trade. This is like probably the most evil faction in the game, in my opinion. Just from the missions I've done, it's the most evil faction in the game. I think Xenofresh is really akin to kind of like in Skyrim, like the assassins, the assassin guilds. I think that's kind of where you're at here. Xenofresh makes Aurora on the planet of Neon, and what Aurora is it's basically like an ecstasy or some sort of party drug that's derived from like fish. So they actually take fish and they basically purify it. You're gonna kind of hear about Aurora a lot, and there's actually some missions that the Crimson Fleet have and the United Corporations and stuff. So you're gonna see this quite a bit. But yeah, Crimson Fleet is pretty good. Xenofresh Corporations, I like them because honestly, I really like that more gray or like playing as a character that's kind of like down on his luck and really getting into the gritty aspects. You're definitely getting much more of a cyberpunk feel. I would say both Xenofresh and Ryujin Industries, since they're both on Xenon, they're both on Neon, not Xenon, Neon. They'll both kind of have that cyberpunk theme because Neon is kind of the city of cyberpunk. But I really do like Xenofresh, and you can make a lot of money. Some of the missions here give you a lot of cash. So yeah, definitely think that's good. If you are interested in making money, definitely go check out How to Make My Money guide. It basically talks you through that at a very, very low level. You can make a lot of cash. But yeah, Xenofresh Corporation, pretty good. Ryujin. I'm going to put Ryujin in the S plus tier. So why is Ryujin so good? Number one, rewards, guys. Rewards in Ryujin are really, really solid. That makes it really good, in my opinion, right from the get-go. But the second thing is, I really like this idea of like Ryujin being this kind of space megacorp. You get the really like corporate feel if you played Cyberpunk 2077, but in a Bethesda game. So really cool missions. There's like kind of like intelligence missions, espionage kind of missions. And yeah, I really enjoyed all of the. I've had limited amounts of playtime with Ryujin, but everything I played with Ryujin has been top notch. I think Ryujin is a really, really good faction. And basically, after Constellation, like if you leave Constellation, I would probably, your second faction should probably be either the Crimson Fleet or it should be Ryujin Industries. That's my personal opinion. And yeah, I really love Neon itself. I love the city of Neon. I think that Ryujin's a little bit better than Xenofresh Corporations, but it is a little bit more like morally gray, where Xenofresh is like kind of evil. So depends on your morality alignment. It depends on who you're trying to roleplay in game. But yeah, Ryujin Industries, it's a banger. It's a good one. What do I think about the United Corporation? I mean, UC faction, this is basically the main military faction. This is what the majority of humanity exists in the, what would that be, 24th century, in the 2300s. So yeah, this is basically like the UN today. That's basically what it is. They're kind of like going towards Star Trek. They're not there. They're definitely not at Star Trek. This is more of a low sci-fi setting. It's not a high sci-fi setting. You're not going to have like you're not going to have kind of like Mass Effect levels of technology going on here. But the UC, it's good. It's solid. I'm going to put them in average because some of the factions, like some of the questing you can do for UC, are really good. You can definitely do some like undercover agent kind of thing, like James Bond, which is really cool. The problem is they are kind of the Joe Schmoes. I really don't feel like you feel cool when you're working with them. You kind of feel like you're working for the man because you are. This is the main dominant faction in the game. So I really like the aesthetics of the other factions. I like working for Constellation a lot better. I like Ryujin better. I like, honestly, the Crimson Fleet. I like working for the Pirates better. However, some of the characters that you meet in the UC are quite solid. So I wouldn't put them at the bottom of the tier. It's just hard because even though the characters are solid, the rewards, let's just say they're a little bit lacking, in my opinion. They're a little bit less than some of the other factions. This is definitely a good guy playthrough. Like if you're wanting to play as a really good guy, you can either play the UC or you can play FREESTAR Collective. The problem is, if you're playing as the good guy, you're going to notice Bethesda games kind of do this. You get way less rewards. The good guys don't really win out on the rewards. So it's kind of hard for me to like wholesale recommend them, but it is a good faction. It isn't bad. It's just not my favorite. So now, guys, I've rated all the major factions. Now let's go and explore a few of the minor factions that you're going to have in the game. Let's see. I want to go to here. So yeah. So what we're going to be looking at here is a few of the religious factions. Now, the way the religious factions work is a little bit different, guys. You have to pick them as a trait, basically, when you're starting the game. I haven't played that much with them, but I did start a new game, several new games, just to kind of touch on them a little bit. House of the Enlightened, I'm going to tell you right now, for religious factions, House of the Enlightened is, I like them a lot. So they're basically like, they're atheistic. They are basically, non-religious. Kind of like ultra humanitarian, I guess you could say. I like House of the Enlightened a lot. So if you're going to pick a trait and you want to go in the kind of, you want to go strictly in the religious like factions, I would recommend House of the Enlightened. On the other hand, Sanctum Universum, this is basically like the Catholic Church today. I don't like this faction. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Sorry, don't mean to like ruffle any feathers, but Sanctum Universum, kind of bad. just like House of the Enlightened, you have to pick a trait. So for the trait, you have to pick Ways Enlightened if you want to do House of the Enlightened, and Sanctum Universum, you have to pick a trait as well. They worship God, basically, monotheistic. It's kind of a bland faction, guys. Not my recommendation. I would steer pretty far away from the Sanctum Universum because I don't like them. I just don't think they come off too well in game. House of Valun. Now this is a really cool faction, guys. This is like a cult. This is like straight on cult. I think in a sci-fi setting, this works really, really well. They believe in this like return of the Great Serpent, which is kind of crazy. I mean, they're definitely a little bit, they're a little crazy, but in a good way, in a fun way, in a way that's actually promoting enjoyment of the game. So you're going to have to pick the trait Serpent's Embrace to kind of go into this. I played around with a little bit of this, and I like this. I like House Valun. I think this is fun, and I would recommend you do this. So I think that is definitely a pretty fun faction if you want to go on the religious side of things. But yeah, guys, now let's sum up. Let's kind of get the whole tier list into, let's actually do a TLDR here for the people that didn't stick through the whole video. So the TLDR is, in my opinion, start with Constellation, run 3 to 5 missions in Constellation. What that's going to do is it's going to show you the major players in the story, as well as give you a lot of XP. And because XP is directly related to your skills, it's just going to make the rest of your playthrough a lot smoother. So I would really recommend, if you're starting the game out, run 3 to 5 main story missions in Constellation, and then kind of break off and go explore the rest of the factions. The next faction I would recommend is going to the City of Neon and joining up with Ryujin Industries. I think Ryujin, if you're like morally gray, if you're not like the super goody two-shoes, it's a great, great faction. You get great rewards. It feels fantastic. It's got a cyberpunk aesthetic. Very, very cool faction. Next thing you probably want to do, go Crimson Fleet. Crimson Fleet can be very, very cool. I plan on making a video about how to access the Crimson Fleet, but short of it is steal things, guys. Steal things. I'll give you a little hint. Steal things, and you'll get into the Crimson Fleet. Xenofresh Corporation. Are you evil, guys? Do you want to be sadistic? Do you want to deal drugs? And be an enforcer, kind of that kind of feel? Go to Xenofresh Corporation. It's definitely a cool faction, but it's not going to appeal to everybody. But I do think it's pretty good, and the rewards you get are top tier. So I can't not recommend it, but definitely a little bit lower on this list. Honestly, the UC guys and FREESTAR collectives, it's kind of meh. Both of these factions, I would say the rewards are definitely a full tier below the rewards in some of the other factions. FREESTAR would be my pick. If you really have to pick somebody, go FREESTAR. These are the factions I would explore maybe after you've done 50 to 70 hours in the game. I just don't feel like the quest lines are as engaging. There is a really cool quest line involving the UC and the Crimson Fleet, and you'll probably run into that, and that is a really cool quest line. But a lot of the other quest lines, not that great. FREESTAR definitely has better questing than UC, in my opinion, but it's just FREESTAR Collective doesn't give you much. The rewards are kind of crap, so hard for me to recommend. Ecliptic Mercenaries. Why did they put this in the game? Makes no sense. So I had to kind of put one in there that was really, really bad. And then, like I said, on the actual religious organizations, I would probably go House of the Enlightened first. And then if you don't want to do House of the Enlightened and you really like the kind of cult aspect, then go House of Valun, which is really kind of cool. This kind of has a Morrowind kind of feel, if you know what I mean. So really hope you like this video, guys. Hit the like button, subscribe, guys. It makes all the difference to a small channel like mine. I am trying to upload every day, really going for that 1,000 subscribers. Please help me get there. Hit that subscribe button, hit the like. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in the next video.